Hello everyone, Burb here. I was planning on getting this guide out next week because I will be on my normal audio as I will be home from vacation, but I'm just looking at the schedule. There's a lot to talk about in March, so I would rather get this out now and just have the info out there rather than having to wait for a perfect video. So if you're a frontrunner player, I apologize for the audio. You are on vacation audio. But the alternative was me pretty much posting this like a few days before registration, which is kind of against my entire MO with Champions meetings. So let's talk about frontrunners. Couple disclaimers. I'm a bit anxious in even posting this because I am not a frontrunner main. I have consulted with people. I have built a few frontrunners for the CM, but historically I am more of a late surger, end closer, gambler kind of main. I grab acceleration skills, I grab speed skills, and we progressively get better over time, and we try to win the race from the back. Frontrunners are a completely different beast. If you miss a few things, you're not necessarily completely dead, but you will be beaten pretty consistently by people who have all the checkboxes. And I will go over those checkboxes, but again, it is not in my blood really to do frontrunners. So I will probably have omissions, I may have errors. I am kind of leaning on you guys to make those corrections, and then I will try to incorporate them into the video best I can. As always, I try to do my best. I am not perfect, and this one, there's a little bit of anxiety here because I've not done this before, so please bear with me. Let's talk about frontrunners. This is the track, the Tokyo Dirt 1600 meter. It is pretty much the sprint track, except the downhill does not extend farther than the 777 meter line. It's like 800 meters, and there is a lot more early race and a little bit more late race. Another 150 meters in the late race, another 200 meters in the start race, pretty much. Frontrunners are pretty good. You have multiple guaranteed acceleration options. Those, of course, are Saiyan Sky Alt and El Condor Pasa Original Alt Victoria por Plancha. You have pretty strong mid-race speed skills. A lot of them are built into the characters. You don't care about position keep with this long early race, and if you like checkboxes, this is the strategy for you. They are very consistent if you hit this checkboxes. There is no real Victoria por Plancha fighting with Pace Chasers this time, unless Pace Chaser uber high rolls, is built in like whale levels, or you are solo front running and there's no other front runners, which is very unlikely. So a lot of times your consistency is not like the sprint CM where you're trying to fight with the pace chasers for position. This time it seems like you will stay in your lane a lot more than previous CMs. The problems with front runners is you are signing up for more stats than normal and more skills than normal. You have a winner take all mentality. You have to get first place in order to get angling and scheming. There's really no other way that you can run front runners optimally except for trying to get first place in the mid race, because as soon as you hit that late race, getting angling and scheming is your MO. And finally, the long straight is longer than normal. So this is a pretty long straight even for mile races. If the gamblers hit, they just kind of win. It doesn't happen very often, but if you get triple gold excelled, the late surgers just have enough time, the end closers have enough time to just make it all the way forward, no matter really how far forward you are. The way you combat this is pretty much more mid-race speed skills and more late-race speed skills, but again, late-race speed skills are hard to come by on frontrunners. So let's begin. This is the stat spread for a normal gambler / pace chaser on this track. In order to talk about the front runner stats, we have to talk about this Marzenski. I posted this Marzenski a couple of days ago. Again, I am not a front runner main. This has effectively 300 power. Now, the interesting thing about this CM is that normally this amount of power is kind of destroyed by uphills. The reason why this Marzenski is bad is not because of the uphill. It is because there is not enough acceleration. The uphill on this track, even though it looks like it does a lot, actually doesn't matter with power. That threshold is 200 power. So if you don't know, uphills lower your target speed based on your power. It's basically a logarithmic relationship. You just divide it by, it may not be logarithmic, it's counter exponential. I don't know. It's more mathy, but the more power you have, the less, with diminishing returns, your target speed is affected. But the thing is, when it's the acceleration zone, you are starting from a lower target speed anyways, going to a higher target speed. So I have done all the race sims that I can to pretty much show that there is a standard logarithmic relationship between power and finish time. All things notwithstanding, this is with angling and scheming and Victoria por Plancha park. The reason is that 200 power, you will get clipped. Anything over 300 power, you simply do not have enough acceleration to hit the maximum top speed. When you hit 800 or more power, you start hitting that maximum top speed and either require, this gets changed by if you hit a third acceleration, sure, but you start hitting that top speed, and then in that case, the power actually sort of matters, but it actually makes power less valuable past 800 because you're only affecting that final top speed, and the actual amount of distance that you have acceleration for gets shortened up. Not saying it's bad. It's pretty close to the standard curve, but down here past 800, you start to have slightly more diminishing returns than normal. So with all this justification that I've done, in my personal opinion, the minimum power threshold, these are minimum stats, should be 725 because that is the time where you actually bump into the uphill's top speed reduction. After that, more width is going to help you than power. So you have this huge mid race right here, plus the early race that you're fighting for position, and width is going to help you a lot in that situation. So you have to hit this power, and you have to try to pump your width as much as possible. Power is certainly useful. It is completely, like I said, it's logarithmic. It's going to pretty much give you results just as much as width does. But as for minimums, if you're below 725 power, you're getting greatly reduced, time, greatly more time. But if you're getting more than it, you are slowly diminishing in returns. You can do the math yourself. Some people have different, priorities than I do. I try to just find the bare minimum power that you need to survive the race, essentially, quote unquote. And I find that this uphill does not change the math at all, or pretty much barely. So again, minimum stats. If you have a good deck, you will probably clear this and probably have 1,200, 1,000, 1,000. We can go from there. So you really just want to get as much stats as possible, but not everyone has perfect decks. And so this is the minimum that I think is absolutely required. All right, let's talk about each stage of the race. Frontrunners have a unique relationship with the gate. The purpose of gate, the only thing that really matters in gate, there is a slight length disadvantage if you get delayed. However, the absolute catastrophic thing that you need to avoid that I have found in frontrunners is you do not want to get the acceleration penalty from the gate, because you want a similar acceleration to other horses. If you get a slight delay and another horse gets a perfect proc on gate, you'll be behind by a little bit of lengths. But if you get more than one frame, which is 0.066, the game actually gives you an acceleration penalty. This is from the wiki. So this means that pretty much over time, you are going behind the other horse and you lose a lot more than just the little bit of length that you do. So you want to get similar acceleration to other horses out of the gate. How do you do this? Well, you have a late start visual indicator for 0.08, but there is a little bit of a threshold between 0.066 and 0.08 where you will not know. So you are not looking for just avoiding the late start penalty. You're looking for this invisible threshold, which is 0.066, which is kind of wild. How you do this, there's two skills, focus and concentration. At the start of the game, you get a random number between 0 and 100 essentially, and that is your delay. As far as I know, it is completely linear. So we're going to assume it's linear. Focus multiplies that delay by 0.9. So if you have 100 delay, it'll bring it down to 90 delay. Concentration does by 0.4. So if you have 100 delay, you will have a 0.4 or a 40 delay, essentially. Your magic number is 66. If you can get less than 66, you will not have the acceleration penalty. So what this means is focus, essentially, so normally you have a 34% chance, because if you roll higher than a 66, which is a 67 or higher, you will get the gate penalty. Focus, because it multiplies it by 0.9, means that you need over a 73, so you need a 74 or higher in order to actually get the gate penalty. So you go down from 34% to 26%. Concentration, because you multiply everything by 0.4, the maximum value you can go is 40, which is always less than 66, which means you will never be in that threshold. That is why frontrunner mains swear by this concentration skill. So, in my opinion, focus gives you 7.6% chance raw of avoiding the gate penalty. You can say, hey, it's 33%, right? Less, but no, it's towards the whole, every race that you run. It's not based on your chance between the gate and what you have now. It's 33% better than that, but it's only 7% better. So 7 out of 100 trials is going to make you not late start. It's not worth 120 points unless you are using it for groundwork, of course, which is a whole different topic. So Focus is purely for groundwork procs. Concentration is there to eliminate your gate penalty completely, and it basically removes this form of RNG from the game. So concentration is very good. It is very expensive. It is technically luxury behind all the other things frontrunner needs, but you should get this probably before a lot of other skills. All right, after the gate, if you get out of the gate good, you want to accelerate. You need essentially to reach the spot struggle margin. So you have two skills in the early race, groundwork and taking the lead. Groundwork requires 3 greens. Taking the lead is only from the Mahona Bourbon card, Mahona Bourbon Wit card, and there's early lead, which is the white version of it. That is basically a third strength of this. But if you look, these give 1.62 lengths to 2.64 or 1.3 to 2.2 in simulator. Let's first talk about groundwork. Groundwork requires 3 greens. Here are your greens for the CM. Firm condition, left-handed winter runner, fronter savvy, sunny days, Tokyo racecourse, and if you are coping, focus, or concentration. Taking the lead does count as well. And in general, I believe that taking the lead, and this is just from my frontrunner people that I've talked to, taking the lead is not as reliable as any of the green skills, but it is not that bad because usually if you don't succeed the wit check that taking the lead is happening, you're not getting the accel you need anyways. So if you can get 2 greens and taking the lead, you pretty much can say, hey, if groundwork procs, it procs, right? So you have groundwork taking the lead. Your threshold you're trying to go for is 3.75 meters. By getting 3.75 meters to the front, like the best horse out of the gate, you officially will throw your hat into the spot struggle. Notably, groundwork and taking the lead both give in simulator between 1.62 and 2.64, so somewhere around 2.5 to 1.5 lengths. You don't necessarily need both of them. However, what you are doing is you are taking a 2-length disadvantage, which is bad just for the last part of the race, but also your margin becomes incredibly small. So if it's 2.5 lengths, you only have 1.25 lengths to basically be your gate coefficient, and also if there's any speed skills that get procced at any point. So you are really, really dueling with death there if you don't have both of these. So it is not 100% dead if you only have one or the other, but someone who has both of them will beat you sometimes just out of the gate if they get a good gate proc or if they do a speed skill that actually pushes them ahead once the spot struggle starts. So try to get both of them if you can. They are part of the checkboxes that you need to get for frontrunners. Productive Plan and Mile Maven from Simulator just really hates it. I think the reason is that it happens at earliest 150 meters. It is a speed skill, and I think that the acceleration, even with taking the lead and groundwork, the acceleration zone kind of still is going on while these can proc in the early race. And so a lot of times these will just be eaten up by the early game acceleration zone. Also, you are getting acceleration and speed from spot struggle already, so your target speed is already increasing during the spot struggle. And if you take Prod Plan and Mile Maven, again, I haven't looked into this too much, but I believe that your spot struggle is just going to keep increasing your speed, and these will pretty much be eaten almost every time on frontrunners. So I think these are don't takes. They may be super luxury, maybe just get the white version, but I wouldn't prioritize these in my opinion. After that, there is a little note about early navigation. This is not 100% required, but if you're able to get these, you have a slight advantage. So just my frontrunner people have told me, hey, if you get 2 of these 3 skills, so Ig Wit, dodging danger, and going with the flow, the white versions are all you need. If you get 2 of those, what happens is the first one procs, and it basically navs you outside, and the second one procs, and it shunts you right into lane 1. So you are essentially trying to get to lane 1 as fast as possible. I think it's because that the lane 1 is shorter, and you have less time you have to actually race for, so it just gives you an advantage over other frontrunners. It's not required, but it helps quite a bit. So you need exactly 2. Do not get 1, do not get 3. You need exactly 2 to proc. If you want to, I guess there's wit checks, but at that point, it doesn't matter at that point. Acceleration options. You have 2. You have Angling and Scheming and Victoria Por Plancha. Angling and Scheming is first place only. Victoria Por Plancha is first and second, but it is half of the actual potency. So you need Angling and Scheming. Victoria Por Plancha, there's an argument that you don't absolutely need it, but in my opinion, you should probably just have one parent as Saiyan Sky and one parent as El Condor Pasa. I believe it's not even that hard because this is a free-to-play character. Build your parents on this side, borrow this side if you don't have her, and there you go. There are your accelerations. You have meet minimum acceleration requirements. You do have Unrestrained, which is from the Suzuka card. Unrestrained is very good. It is a 50-50 accel because it can proc late, and it is a random final corner. So if you are able to maintain first position on the final corner, and this procs late, you receive a ridiculous, you see, maximum 8.5 lengths advantage over everybody else in the lobby, because you are not only fighting against other frontrunners, you are fighting against those late surgers. This is essentially a corner acceleration or a corner connoisseur that is better because it just has such high potency. So Unrestrained is very good. It is not part of the required tier, but it will help you quite a bit if you're able to get it. But again, frontrunners have so many things that they need to get. You have access to all the other timing-based accelerations that the other roles have, except you don't have a head-on or anything. You have Forward March, Lead the Charge, Highlander, Ig Guts, Ig Power. These are supplementary accels. They are not required whatsoever because your entire game plan needs to be get first place, proc these two accelerations. You have some position-based accelerations. These are used for fail-safes. The only real one to consider, honestly, I think, is Give Mummy a Hug and possibly Resplendent Red Ace because it gives you some speed. I think Dancing the Leaves and all the other third minus ones are just a little bit too cope, but they are there in case there is like a 6+ front-runner lobby. In that case, you probably will be in the third place because you're not always going to be first. Having a fail-safe is not bad. There is a couple more gambling accels with Straightaway Accel, Corner Connoisseur. We've shown in these in multiple videos why these are not the greatest. They are about 20% effectiveness. They are there. I would not get them because frontrunners have the other ones. However, there are two that I want to talk about for fail-safes. If you're in a really, really front-heavy Champions Meeting lobby, you can get No Stopping Me or at least Nimble Navigator. There's a lot of things to take in front runners, but in heavy fronts, it can actually proc. It's weirdly enough because they do kind of cluster a little bit. You cannot be in first place when this happens, but it could just be enough to pretty much cope your run. These are not required at all. The other one is Flashy Landing. Pass Protect builds would want this, essentially. So if you get passed in the late race, you get a burst of acceleration, and it can be pretty potent. It's about 3 lengths at maximum. These are for niche uses. These are only if you are not getting, you are not doing the first place. These are fail-safes. These are behind pretty much every other thing on this list. These are luxury. So your mid-race speed skills, you have your corner skills. You have Unyielding Spirit and Ignited Spirit Speed and their golds. You have your front runner mid-race speed skill, which is Escape Artist. So Escape Artist is your front runner mid-race speed skill. It has the same timing as Daring Strike for the end closers, but also Changing Gears, which is also on Taiki Shuttle. So you have a all mid-race. You have an all mid-race speed skill that can proc at any point in the mid-race. It is not bad for front runners to not speed carryover, which is a little bit different than like end closers and late surgers. If a skill doesn't proc, like even in end closers and late surgers, it's fine. But front runners have a separate thing they're fighting against the other front runners. If you have more mid-race speed skills, you will most likely win first place. This is why Summer Mario wins first place a lot, because she has one built in. So it is not bad to proc this not in speed carryover. Just because this has a very wide zone, this is still very good skill. Escape Artist is an incredibly good skill. And also, remember that Speed Eater is actually a speed skill, even though it looks like a debuff skill. It does actually debuff everyone behind you and give you a small white speed boost. So Speed Eater agreed for speed. They are good skills as well. They have a little bit more value than a single mile corner circle. So these are your mid-race speed skills. You have Tail Held High, Tail 9, Slipstream, Playtime's Over. Slipstream's a little weird because you want to be in first, so you don't necessarily want to be in second, following directly behind another runner. But Playtime's Over, Tail 9, Tail Held High are all good. Trending in the Charge Bid 6 again, the normal issue of them normally procking early in the race is not really a problem because you are spot struggling and you want to be in the front. So these help with that. So if you find them and you get the golds, these are good as well. So you have a lot of options for mid-race speed skills, and it's kind of the name of the game because your acceleration options are dependent on you getting in first place at the end of the mid-race. Other mid-race speed skills, you have TDDC, it can't speed carryover. You have View from the Leader's Mind. It's a little iffy because you need to be winning by 1+ lengths, and there's going to be a lot of front runners. So you really have to believe that your front runner is the best front runner in order to do this. Genius X Box Machine X Victory will proc in very clustered front runner packs because it requires a side block. 1 to 4 pass plus Banshin is essentially just means that you have somebody close to you, so win QED and chances for Victoria. do not really give too much, but they are very easily proc because you're first through fourth and you're passing somebody. So again, you have to be in second place. All these are luxury. And Operation Cacao, which is Mahono Bourbon Valentine's, is useful specifically for Ogiri Cap because it can proc on final corner and it basically gives a recovery. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Risky business is there. You may just want more mid-race speed skills. You do have to overstand by 50 to 100 in order to run nothing ventured. But other than that, it's there. It's a good mid-race speed skill. It has a 50-50 from being a good mid-race speed skill or a good late-race speed skill. And both these they're good. There's a dead zone in the middle, same as every other rule. All right. Whew. Early race and late race speed skills. There really is no definitive difference between them for front runners because you don't have position keep. So you really only have the straights, and this is kind of the problem with fronts is your late race is kind of hard because you do not really have access to, like, you don't really want to be doing Triumph and Pulse except as a fail-safe because you don't want to be in second place. TM Op or O doesn't really work because it procs too early on this track. Sakura Chiona O is okay, right? It's 300 meters, so as long as you hit your accels, you're fine with Chio alts. But mostly, you have straight adept, mile straights, front runner straights. And grabbing these is good because if it procs early, you are fighting for first place. If it procs late, you have a rare late race speed skill on a front runner. Don't be scared of this dead zone. If you proc your accel, you're normally at max speed by 1,200 meters. And so the dead zone is much, much smaller than it actually looks. So this is without any accels. You'll be most likely, hopefully, on the winning track, you'll be procking an accel. So you will be having like about 1,100 to 1,150 meters at the actual mark at which you are at max speed and you get value from these skills. Let's talk about cards. I can't go through every single card. I will have tried to, but again, I have not played frontrunners very much, so this is what I know. Your most likely borrow, if you are trying to absolutely min-max and you have a good deck, is probably Silent Suzuka Speed. The reason being, she is the sole provider of Unrestrained. She also comes with left-handed on that event that never ends up proccing. Front straights, front corners, Leader's Pride, early lead, final push, focus, and frontrunner straightaways. Lots of hints. Left-handed, I know, is kind of a meme that event never procs, but other than that, she is probably the best borrow. I'm going to grab some water. Okay. Twin Turbo. I put it here because it's technically a taking the lead provider. However, again, you have to win 3 50-50s for a 1 in 8 chance. You are kind of crazy if you run this card. You are essentially running 8 runs to hit taking the lead once. She does give a bunch of other skills, but she doesn't have the greatest speed output. So, I mean, if you have high LB, maybe you throw it in there as a third speed card, but other than that, honestly, it's not that great. So maybe it's just you pair this with the Bourbon Wit card. Otherwise, yeah, it's not that great. Otherwise, Kidison Black, Pro Curve, and Zeno Rob Roy does have left-handed on a chain event, so that's how you can get left-handed. Other cards, standard cards, as before. Shinko Windy does give a bunch of mile skills, so does Vodka, and the new Silent Suzuka, if you're not running this Silent Suzuka Speed, the new Silent Suzuka Speed has pretty much every single minor frontrunner skill, including early lead, in its hint pool. So if you have the Welfare card, it is pretty good. It's good as a third speed card because it doesn't have the greatest speed generation, but it's certainly viable. There's no real Gamba or no real gotcha wit cards that kind of are good. Only thing really is Yukino Vision 1LB Plus has Winter Runner and IPP, so some green skills, but other than that, you kind of have the same things that every other role has. The big one is Mihono Bourbon Wit. Not necessarily a borrow, I don't know. I don't think so, because it has really, really bad wit output, but it is the real soul the only non-cope way to taking the lead right now, and it comes with a whole bunch of, every single hint on this is good. Front runner straights, front runner corners, early lead, moxie, and focus. They're all pretty good. It gives you a couple greens, gives you a focus. It gives you a bunch of early race skills, your straights, your corners, stuff like that. It's a good card in general, but you need to be running it with a second wit card, honestly. Ines Fusion Wit as well has pretty much every single, mile-esque, generic good skill, and that's also for front runners. It doesn't have any greens except for standard distance, but yeah, it's kind of decent, surprisingly enough. Arden has left-handed. I don't like this card because it has no race bonus and its trainings are not great, but it does give you left-handed on hits and a bunch of pace chaser skills that we don't care about, so ignore that. Your other cards. So if you are running a stamina or a power card, it better be because it has a very good skill, because you are trying to get speed and wit on these front runners. And you could supplement, normally you will be supplementing using power sparks because most of the characters have speed wit growths. Here are the cards. So I think a very good option is Seiyun Sky Stamina. And the reason is you get Escape Artist, and running a 3 speed 1 stamina sometimes gives you enough that you may not even need to use Rico. I know that sounds weird, but just having Escape Artist on a stamina card, if you have this card high LB, it's not that bad. It has dodging danger as well. The Welfare half anniversary card, the Suzuka stamina card, if you're not running any other Suzuka card, because for some reason there's so many Suzuka cards, does give concentration, but it has pretty much every single frontrunner skill on its hints. So you're running this card for being a skill monkey. Your generation is based on your speed and your wit cards. So running a card like this, even though it has pretty bad stat generation, it has pretty good skill output. So this can help you with getting all your skills. Kazuna gives a 50-50 for concentration. If you are able to get enough stamina by using one of these cards or using a Super Creek, etc., she gives concentration, tail held high, and honestly, she feels better than Rico. Rico just feels like just a bad card that you only need because you need stamina. So if you're able to overcome that through sparks or through running a stamina card, you can actually run Kazuna to get your concentration 50-50. Daikatu Helios is another version of Escape Artist. It is quite good because it just has so many mile skills and frontrunner skills. So Daikatu Helios Power is a very good borrow to have. If you're not running the Bourbon Wet card, you do have a bunch of minor skills on Bourbon Power. Smart Falcon is your main way of getting groundwork if you're not getting it purely through sparks. She also comes with good dirt skills as well as frontrunner straights. And the new Agnes Digital card gives you Lead the Charge to use as a supplementary accel, or if for some reason you don't want to actually go for the Angling and Scheming plan, which I ask, why are you playing Frontrunner and not any other role if you're not going Angling and Scheming? But Lead the Charge could be that third accel that puts you ahead of everybody else. Same thing with the other power card. What is this one called? The Nari 1 power. She gets the white version Forward March. Both of these have pretty good skills. You are running these cards for their skills and not their stat generation. So, in my opinion, these are the cards. The ones I would borrow, if you don't have Kitasen, borrow Kitasen. Otherwise, you are either borrowing Suzuka or you are borrowing Daikatu Helios Power. And I think it depends on the character whether you need more mid-race or you need more acceleration options. I'm not going to go through every single green skill and where to find them. I'm just going to show you this page. You can reference this page later if you wish. You can take a screenshot. That's what I suggest. Or you can look at the Game Torah. This is all just from Game Torah. So these are every single place that you can find every single green skill that is relevant for this CM. Let's talk about characters, okay? Remember, this is Dirt CM. There are very few characters, okay? I'm going to go through most of them. I think there's a couple that are a little too cope that I like. Regular Oguri Cap, I don't really understand why you would run it in Frontrunner when you can run that in Pace Chaser because her ultimate's weird, but you know what you're doing if you're running that character. But other than that, pretty much every other character I'm about to go through. So, Smart Falcon, this is her CM, in my opinion. Sparkly Stardom can proc on the start or at the end. I think most time it's going to proc at the start of the race, and it's not even bad because it basically is a mid-race speed skill that helps you fighting for position. If for some reason it doesn't end up procking because you get a very, very good gate and everyone else gets a bad gate, you have probably the most ridiculous acceleration option in the game. But mainly this is basically like a Kiss for Courage, but slightly worse. But then she also gives you like trending in the charts, Leader's Pride, Prudent Positioning, so you have half of your navigation combo. She gives you a gold. You just have to somehow get groundwork on her in the greens, and she's kind of all set. So she is very easy. She is very strong because she has the high roll potential. She has a very good mid-race speed skill. She has the 20% speed, 10% power. Power is pretty hard to get because you're running wit and speed cards, so you can either go all in on speed with some wit sparks, or you can run the standard wit and speed build and just run from there. She is very easy to build if you have her. I understand if you don't, because this is probably the first and only CM for the year that she is really, really top meta viable, I would say. Mars NC Summer is the other very, very, very strong character. A Kiss for Courage will fight for first place on its own. So if you have the same number of mid-race speed skills as someone else does, a Kiss for Courage will win. You basically put, I think it's corner recovery, because you can either put corner recovery or you can put Vanilla Bourbon's ultimate on her, because that is a final corner skill. So ideally, I guess Mahona Bourbon Valentine ult will cause this to proc and possibly speed carryover. But even if it doesn't speed carryover, and you may not even want to be speed carryover because you are fighting for first place. She also comes with Speed Eater, which is a very, very good skill that debuffs all the other front runners. So a little bit more to put on her. You do need the groundwork combo. You do need taking the lead, all that stuff. She has more luxury skills than real skills. So it's a little bit harder to build. But she is probably the highest strength front runner that we have in this game so far. If built completely properly, she's just less friendly than Smart Falcon is. Okay? Your free-to-play option is El Condor Pasa Original. I have originally put this on the medium difficulty tier. And again, all these difficulties are relative to other frontrunners, because frontrunning is honestly hard to build no matter what. But after looking at it, this character doesn't give you enough, really, to truly compete at the top level unless you really high roll. So I have put the hard tag on it for that reason. You will make a very good El Condor Pasa that will win most of your lobbies, and perhaps even get you in, win most of the lobbies that are not with these two, basically, Marozensky, Smart Falcon. The problem this character has is, even though you have one of the two skills that people are putting, which means you have higher acceleration than everyone else, you have no mid-race speed skills. She gives straightaway adept. She has 2010. She is front E, so you have to get from front E to front B and then hope for a front spark. You're spending a lot on your front, which means you're not getting your mile or your dirt. Very, very hard to initially build. And then you're sitting there and you need escape artists. You need mid-race speed skills like your corners, your pro curve. You need multiple gold skills to compete with Marozensky, Summer's Kiss for Courage, and even Sparkly Stardom. So you don't have the mid-race speed skill, but if you do hit and you're able to get first or second, VPP will help you carry into the late race. So your goal in this is just, you don't care about anything else except get VPP and Angling and Seeming, and then get enough, get your groundwork combo and get as many mid-race speed skills. You don't care about anything else. If you hit, you win the game, pretty much, with this character. But again, very, very hard, because you just don't have the mid-race that is required for this map built in. You're searching for it in cards. I have Taiki Shovel here as medium. The point of this character is you have a secondary way of winning the game. If you are not first and you don't get Angling and Scheming, you have the Shooting for Victory, basically the late proc or the standard proc that gives you the small 1.2 second, sorry. So if you're in first place, you have Angling and Scheming. If you have second place, you have Shooting for Victory plus VPP, so you can kind of still fight with the front runner that's hitting Angling and Scheming. She has Changing Gears, which is a very good mid-race speed skill. That's why she's better than El Condor Pasa, because she does have a mid-race speed skill and Mile Straights. She does get Mile Maven, that's luxury. She has front C. You do need to put a couple fronts in it. I have her set as medium, and I don't have her as strong as the other three, because the technical high roll potential is a lot more difficult, and her ultimate requires you to be in second place. So it is a fail-safe ultimate and not one that you can basically breeze past everybody. So Taiki Shuttle is very strong, very, very good if you're not first place, and can win you some matches over the front runner, who even gets Angling and Scheming if you get some late race speed skills. Oguri Cap Christmas, I have marked as hard. I'm not an Oguri Cap Christmas player, and I know if you run a front runner, your sparks are really weird, and she doesn't have the best growths, and she gives you really nothing. But you can either do Moxie, or you can do Mahona Bourbon Valentine's Ultimate. Mahona Bourbon Valentine's Ultimate's, I think, better, because you can late proc it. Someone can correct me on that, but Moxie pretty much turns Festive Miracle into Highlander as the trigger, and if you use Mahona Bourbon Valentine as the ultimate, which is a recovery skill, it basically turns it into a corner connoisseur, which it kind of means that if it procs early, it's good because it's a mid-race speed skill, and if it procs late, then it's very good because you get speed carryover plus some acceleration. So very high rolly, very strong if it hits, just doesn't really give you anything to help you with it, and you have so many checkboxes you need to do. Mayano Top Gun is a force because Mile D Dirt E. She is a front runner. She has front runner A. The Wedding one is easier to build because you have the 10% speed and wit. I put Yeah, flowery maneuver is just essentially if you pass a runner on the final corner, you get some speed skills, which can speed carry over pretty well. She gets focus and not much else. And the biggest thing of that you're getting from Iono Top Gun is because she has a guaranteed fast learner event if you have more than 500 wit by the time it procs, which is random. So you'll be getting fast learner and a lot of skills on it, and that makes Iono always very good. She also gets final push because of her secret event. And the regular one is technically better if you get like everything notwithstanding, because fleshly landing is a pass protect ultimate, and she gets go with the flow, half of your navigation combo with some NSM for some backup. So it's kind of pick your poison. This is technically a free to play option, but yeah, it's kind of hard to build with the 20% stamina. So I kind of lean more towards the winning Mayano if you have a choice. So the last one I'm going to talk about is Seiyun Sky, and she is Mile C Dirt G, which means that she is Mile A, which is 2, and Dirt FEDC. Dirt C is cope viable because whenever a character has something in their kit that no one else has, it basically gives them lengths advantage. In her case, angling and scheming is 3 times as powerful as inherent angling and scheming. It's 2 times. Sorry, it's a 0.4 instead of a 0.2. So she has basically 2 angling and scheming. So if she's first place somehow, she pretty much makes up that Dirt C. Now, if you are able to somehow, with the 4 dirt parents you're running towards it, get Dirt B or Dirt A, she becomes technically the best horse in the game if you get enough mid-race to get first place. So if she's first place, she will win because angling and scheming is stronger than any other acceleration that the frontrunners have. She also comes with Highlander, which is basically a built-in secondary acceleration. It's not strong enough to win on its own, but you do that plus VPP and maybe you get enough to fight the frontrunners. Lots of mid-race skills. She gets escape artist, she gets tail high, she gets front runner straights, gets fast pace. All you need really is you try to get pro curve on her, you try to get like all the corner skills you possibly can, and then you pray that you're first place instead of the Summer Marzensky. So she comes with the green, you get your groundwork, standard stuff. Seiyun Sky is a lot easier, honestly, than you think. It is 2 dirt sparks, but even at Dirt B, it's better than the standard horse. So the only problem you're going to have is you do not have speed bonus. So you want to run wit cards, and you want to basically run some speed sparks to assist with it. So get your power up, get your stats. Seiyun Sky, very strong if you're actually able to get her dirt aptitude up. So I have her marked as hard. So don't try this unless you have all your horses built pretty much, but that is what's there. So this is my example build. I didn't have a front runner before. So yeah, this is a totally legit, non-edited Marzensky. That was certainly not the same one as before. You just get your speed, your wit, and your power. You get all your skills. You have your groundwork. You have your 3 greens, right? You have as many mid-race speed kills as you can. This is totally Summer Marzensky, not regular Marzensky. It's not that I don't have Summer Marzensky, right? I have only this Marzensky, so I apologize. So this is sort of an example build. I'm sure there's better ones out there. But, 602 stamina, more than 601. You have your speed, you have your wit, you have your power. You have some guts for spot struggle. Guts isn't even that bad. You try to get your mile S and your front S, stuff like that. And hey, you just play the game. So here is your checklist as a front runner. Anything above the line, I would say, is 99% required. So you want to get your minimum stats. You want your groundwork and your 3 greens. You're taking the lead. You're angling and scheming. Your Victoria per plancha. Your mid-race speed skills. And then after that, your optionals, unrestrained, your early navigation skills, your backup acceleration skills, your late race speed skills, which are your straight skills. And then you pump your wit and your power. You get your mile S, you get your front runner S, you get your dirt S, stuff like that. And then guts is not even that bad. So if you end up getting a little bit higher guts, that'll just help you with the spot struggle. So this has been the first attempt at the front runner guide. I probably missed some things. I would appreciate it if you guys have any feedback. But this concludes the Champions Meeting Aquarius guides. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope the frontrunner mains that actually watch my channel have at least not been completely offended about me trying to teach about frontrunners, which is something I'm learning myself. So I hope you've enjoyed. If you're building a frontrunner, honestly, good luck. You have a lot of stuff you need, and there's a reason why I try to build late surges, because it's just a different beast. So with that, all that's left to say is burb out.